Buying used and retro or old frames can be a bit of a minefield. It's not the easiest and straightforward thing to do, especially when you're buying them online. You don't really know what you're getting, but there is quite a lot of things to look at and to think about when you are buying them to stop yourself getting a bit stuffed. So in today's video, not only am I going to share my top tips for purchasing used frames, but I've asked some of my friends in the community, some popular YouTubers that you're probably going to know their faces, and they're going to tell you their best tips as well. Now, when I messaged these people and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? Everybody straight away was like, yes, this sounds great. The one thing I did say is, can you just send me like 30 seconds of a clip and I'll put it in the video. Naturally, what happens when you ask bike nerds for their opinion on something or ask them to give you a bit of a tip or information on something, many days go by before we get to the point. So my lovely friends have not done 30-second clips. They're everything from 2 minutes to 4 minutes. So I'm going to save my tips and my part for the end. So for now, let's go over to New Zealand and speak to Toasty.
Hi. So some of the things that I look out for when trying to buy a bike is obviously any damage, rust, that sort of thing. If it has a seat post on the bike, that the seat post isn't stuck. Sometimes bottom brackets and bottom bracket threads and rack eyelets and stuff can get damaged as well. That's something to look out for. Other than that, frame material, wheel size, and the wheelbase, that really changes the characteristics and the riding feel of a bike. So depending on what I want to do with the bike, I will get the right kind of wheel size and the wheelbase and geometry and that sort of stuff to suit that. Same as brake mounts and rack mounts and that sort of stuff. Kind of depends on what I want to build with the bike. But with the amount of manufacturers and all the bags and that sort of stuff that are out now, I don't really get caught up on the amount of mounts that a bike has. For me, it's probably more about the style of it and the frame material. So something with a nice level top tube sort of looks aesthetically pleasing to me. And then something with decent decals and a nice colorway. Unless I'm going to repaint it, then it doesn't really matter. I can just use that frame as a base. Even if I have a bike that rides really nicely, but the style and the look of it doesn't really look right, then over the long term, I'll be a bit put off riding that, then eventually end up selling it because I'm not 100% into how it looks. If in doubt, just buy a GT because they're really nice handling bikes. Some of them are a bit heavier and that sort of thing, but you can't go too wrong when buying a GT. People tend to sleep on the 90s 700C hybrids. I don't really know why, because they have some decent tire clearance and they've got all the rack mounts and that sort of stuff that you could need. But for some reason, people don't really like the style of them or something. I don't really know what it is. But I'm trying to find a specialized crossroads at the moment, and I can't for the life of me find one. Which sort of brings me on to my next point. Try not to get focused on buying a particular model as well, because that can sort of delay things and you can miss out on some really nice handling bikes. At the end of the day, it's about fun, and if you're not really enjoying it, like if the bike doesn't bring you joy, then just get rid of it because life's too short to ride boring bikes. Have fun with it. If you need any help, just reach out. I know myself and a couple of others are pretty good at replying to messages. Sometimes it's a bit chaotic, but we try.
I'm going to try and be super quick, but I've got cats looking at Torvi. So, Craig's asked a question, trying to be super quick about what to look for in a frame. I'm going to go into what's disappointed me in the past. Super quick, seized seat post. They are a pain to get out. Always check the seat post first. Second, bottom bracket. Know what you're buying. This is an Italian bike, has an Italian bottom bracket. Pain already, but also the threads are damaged. So it's really difficult to get in. It's never going to come out again. Frame damage. On this titanium frame here, if it will focus, you've got a crack running across there. You can also get cracks in old aluminium frames like that one, especially in the head tube area. Front end damage. Always use your straight edge to check for front end damage. You can also see by creases there and there, maybe a dent on the front. Hey Tov. Frame alignment, run a string from that dropout round the head tube and back and measure. Also hanger alignment, I mean that's not too difficult to fix really, but frame alignment definitely. General condition, make sure if it's a really high-end frame, steel frame, it's not got much rust, because it will eat through the thin steel really quick. And finally, I think serial numbers. If you're looking for a legit frame, always check the serial numbers, because stolen frames have them ground off, and that can really put a damper on your day. But shit.
Hi Craig, when buying a bike frame there are two important things to look for, is that it is free of binding and cracks and that the bike frame number is not erased. A bike frame with a crack is just bulky waste, and if you fail to check you will end up buying bulky waste instead of a frame. Be sure to check these 2 points carefully and buy a bike frame that has no cracks and has a visible frame number. That's something to keep in mind when buying a used bike frame.
As soon as Ugly Cycle said they were going to make a video, I knew they would not disappoint. Talking about disappointments, I've let you down recently. I keep getting messages asking to bring back stickers. I've not had a lot recently. Just haven't. I don't really know why, but I have just a couple of days ago dropped a brand new bootleg sticker pack, which is this one on the screen right now. Maybe it's like here. These awesome stickers. They're the best one I've done so far. They're available on the website right now. You can go down to spray.bikes.com and pick up a pack of these, and they're amazing, if I don't say so myself.
Hi guys, it's Wayne at Tailwind. Craig has very strangely asked me to make a video. I don't know anything about video, but thankfully it's about bike frames, so I have a few of those. I have some advice that you may wish to take or not. Firstly is just to try and be honest with yourself as to what you intend to use the bike for. So if you want it to be a grocery getter or a pub bike or whatever, then really you need to have, fender and rack mounts, etc. This is a Cannondale M1000 and to all intents and purposes, it's perfect. It does everything, it's lightweight, it's got mounts for racks and or fenders, but things to look out for are kind of like weird things like this. So you've got like a super oversized head tube, which limits your stem, fork and handlebar choice, and obviously headset choice itself. So that's one thing to try and spot on, a lot of bikes you may be looking at. They've always got quirks, not always, but if you're going for something old, they've got quirks. If you're going proper retro, like you've got things like this, which is a base level GT Timberline U-brake. So again, that's gonna limit your choice. If it doesn't have a U-brake and you're just looking at a frame with just the post mounts, make sure you check first, because if you think it's Canty or V-brakes and it is a U-brake, you're gonna have a shock. Financially and physically. And again, you've got on something like this, it's got a paint match stem. Please keep it. Like, they don't make it like this anymore. It's cool. It's just super unique. Don't use the stem converter. It's just all wrong. Totally wrong. And this is bottom bracket advice. So, square taper, never silly. Just makes sense. And I'd say you've got, look at the colours. Choose something that's interesting, unless you don't want it stolen, in which case choose something really beaten and ratty, in which case just go wild with it, have some fun, but just make sure it's yours. That's the whole point of these things. It's meant to hark back to when you were a child, perhaps a bit of nostalgia. It's meant to be fun. Bikes are fun, so just choose something that makes you smile, and then build it up appropriately. If you're stuck or need help, then ask. There's plenty of people out there who will give advice and not be idiots about it. There should be no snobbery. Seat posts, you don't want them seized, but also just if it doesn't come with a seat post, there's a whole multitude of sizes, so that's the kind of thing that could throw a spanner in the works for a quick build. The sensible thing to do would be to probably pick up a certain era Trek or whatever else, which Like this thing here, you can go crazy with it. It will overexpose your video because it's so bright. It's like acid. But you've got 1/8" head tube. You can swap out for disc forks if you want to do something stupid. It's got 27.2 seat post, square taper bottom bracket, normal dropouts. So you can, pretty much do anything. If you get a steel version of this, you're basically looking at a retro, cheaper, surly long haul trucker. So that's a sensible choice for the one bike that you will ever need. But of course, having one bike is difficult. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Peter and I run Bespoke, the handmade bike show. Craig has asked me to make this video about what I look for in a frame. Mostly when I'm buying a frame, what I look for is esoteric materials, engineered ash, laminated hardwoods, scandium, bamboo, 3D printed plastics of all kinds, soft and hard, steel. Frames are sometimes made of steel. Steel's a very good material for a frame. Definitely not cheese. There are different kinds of steels, mild cheese, mild steel, or strong steel. Reynolds and Columbus make very nice steel, T130 and T45, which are also very good. Those steels, buying a frame made from steel, I like big butts. I cannot lie. If you're buying a steel frame, big butts are a good thing. It makes the frame nice and light and ductile. It's more about strength really than the weight, and the way that the frame flexes is really nice. So after you've managed to find your frame made from material, you're going to look for a few other things. Dropouts. A frame should always have dropouts. If your frame doesn't have dropouts, it's not going to work. The dropouts should be spaced apart. Spacings are for different sizes of wheels. Big wheels, small wheels, wheels the size of your head. The wheels that I like to use are the round ones. And the spacing dictates really what kind of wheel you're going to put in there. Road bike spacing is traditionally 130 and mountain bike spacing is 135. However, there are some other spacings out there like 110, 142, 145, 148, fat bike spacing, thin bike spacing. Just make sure if you're going to have wheels in there that you have dropouts and spacing. There's a few different kinds of dropouts too. Cast dropouts or machine dropouts or folded in half. On the whole, dropouts are a good thing. Dropouts claim to be future resistant because they have things in them. Make sure they have the things in them. If you're going to buy a Cannondale frame and it's got a lefty fork sized head tube, make sure it has that lefty fork. Going on from there, standards. If we don't have standards, then what do we have? Some standards are useful, like 1 1/8 inch head tubes and 27.2 seat post sized internal seat tubes. Bottom brackets, which are either 68 or 73 BSA. It's very important that your bike has standards, and make sure you check that when you're buying a frame. Things being stuck in the frame. If there's a seat post stuck in there or a fish, you probably don't want that. Termites tend to wreak havoc. Rust, dings, if there's like holes in the frame, that's often bad, unless it's one of those ones with the holes. Braze-ons, it should always have them for bottle things. And when frames are nice colors, that's nice as well, and interesting designs. Molten or I don't like it when they have batteries inside of the frame. That's ridiculous. If I could give you one piece of advice when it comes to buying a frame, avoid BB30 and press fit bottom brackets in carbon fiber frames and all other frames. Press fit bottom brackets are silly and stupid and they don't work. A frame is a very good place to start though if you're thinking about building a bike.
Hey, this is Dave from Dave's Bikes. So I spend a lot of time on Facebook Marketplace and eBay scrolling. That's where I find most of my bike frames. The things that I like to look for usually are the size. So a large frame is what I'd go for normally. So it's usually around sort of a 19 to 21 inch sort of seat tube type size. And then I also like to look for what sort of components they have or would have, just sort of get an idea of what kind of spec the bike was. Obviously the higher end bikes are a bit nicer, the lower end, the cheaper stuff like Rally Maxes for example, they can have weird sized coil stems, so it makes that difficult to find replacements or find adapters. And then other things like built-in derailleur hangers is always good, because running the types with the hook type rear derailleur just looks a bit unclean, you know, it doesn't look as tidy as it could do, so I tend to avoid stuff like that. And then otherwise just something interesting, you know, like I've got a Rally Maverick, the rear parts of the frame, there's all the chainstay and rear triangle is completely rusty. It's all solid, so I've sanded it back and lacquered it to stop it getting any worse, but it just tells a bit of a story. And then nice paint jobs like giant cold rock, like a pink and purple frame with a nice fade, can look really good, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just keep an eye out, just keep looking. The more you look, the more you're going to find. So as you can see, I definitely have a small handful of bikes and frames, and they're just picked up from eBay and Marketplace. Like this giant was about 45-minute drive away. It's a bit crusty in places, but sometimes that's better. But the colour's really cool. They're a bit uncommon to see, and that wasn't a bad price. And then I've got like this GT, which again was round the corner from where I live. The seat post was stuck, but I managed to get that out. Again, a little bit crusty in places, but it's a pretty cool frame. And then things like the Rally I have, you can see here, sort of the rust level we're dealing with, but again, it's solid. So it's nothing to really worry about. It's been clear coated, so it's protected. Yeah, just keep your eye out, keep looking, the more you'll find.
Hi guys, this is Marlon from Babylon Bikes, and here is a rough guide on what and how to buy the ideal frame. Question number one would be, what do you need the frame for? You know, if it's just a pub bike, run around, don't really matter, wanna lock it up wherever I can, then obviously, you know, get whatever you find. Also, if it's just for, you know, building up for fun and you maybe wanna sell and stuff, again, buy as cheaply as you can, whatever the color, whatever the weight, and so on, whatever the brand. Now, if it's a passion project and it's for you and it's a keeper and you want to put some really nice parts on it, then it becomes quite imperative that I think you go for the best one. So if you're on eBay and one is 50 and it's okay, and the one you really like is like 50 more, like 100, go for the 100, because, you know, you can change the parts, you can upgrade slowly, but the frame will remain. So if it's a piece of crap, you can polish the third as much as you like, but it will remain at that level mostly. So I think follow what you like, what you prefer, and you know, if you are tight with money, that week you don't go to the pub, or that week you don't place bets, or that week you don't buy a pair of shoes. That's how I would do it. So, you know, and also my spirit animal, let's say, I mean, the first real 26 that I got was a rock copper. So a rock copper specialized is in my heart, and if I see one, I'm likely to buy one. But you can say the market, or let's say the scene, is saturated in specialized, so maybe go for something more interesting. I like a lot of tanch tubing sort of frames like KHS, pretty cool, Okona, so see if you can get something interesting. Other than that, buy whatever, make sure the seat post is not stuck, make sure the threads are okay, and make sure the size is reasonable, and have fun. Ciao.
Hey, it's Max. Craig wants me to show you how I pick out a frame. As you can tell, I've got a few here in the garage, and my number one thing is go off of something that you like. It's mostly vibe based, honestly, but in all seriousness, there's a couple of things you do want to look for. So this Motive ground pounder is not the nicest frame. Motive was a brand that was sold here in Costco, I think. But it's cool. I really like the colors and all that. I want it to be a geared commuter bike. So we look for a derailleur hanger that's built into the frame. I like that it already comes with brakes, brake levers, shifters. It comes with a stem and a seat post. Those are all things that can be difficult or kind of annoying to find. So if they already come on the bike, it makes it a lot easier to know that it'll work, if you know what I mean. Some other things that you might want to do is check all the welds. So down here, back here, up here, head tube, fork, and just visually inspect them for cracks. On a bike that's a little bit more crusty, this is more of a concern. For the most part, once you've done that, should be good to just build it. That's how I choose all of my bikes. I determine if I like it, I determine that the frame's not broken, and then I just go from there. Each of these bikes has something weird about it, and you won't know until you try. So the number one thing is just find a bike that you like and start building it. And if you're a crazy person like me, you'll take every free frame that comes your way and not know what to do with them. So hope that helps.
So Craig asked me what I'm looking for when I'm buying a frame. I mean, I'm buying mainly bikes for the complete, but if you're just looking for a frame, I think the main thing is vibes. So I have a couple examples here. Looking at this frame, it's a folding frame, 24-inch wheels, which is very unusual. So that's why I picked it up. One thing to really look for usually is the dropouts. See, those ones are a bit thicker than what you would find on cheaper frame. This one, stamped dropouts. So usually a bit cheaper. Although that one doesn't have a derailleur hanger built in, which means usually it's cheaper. It's not a problem that a frame is cheaper. I don't think it's a big issue. Most of my frames are actually relatively cheap and affordable. I'm not someone that do like really expensive bikes. But one thing you should look out if you're looking for a frame of quality is the stickers. So here, Reynolds 531, you have all type of tubing. Usually when you have a sticker like that of a reputable brand like Tange or Reynolds, there's a few out here like Vitus and Friends. Those usually means good quality frame. And overall, yeah, it's just detail, like, the bridge of the brakes. Sometimes you have nice lugs. That's also like, I like really nice lugs. You have some here. One thing to really look for though is the fork. So many times I bought the frame and the fork is actually bent. It's easy to check. You can really see usually, like if you put a rule, like a ruler or something like that, and like put it running on the back, you can really see if it's like bent. That's really something I'm looking for. Rust, usually it's not a big problem. I'm buying mostly like steel frame, and steel frame, like, most of the time is surface rust. So don't be afraid of the rust. Rust can be treated, rust can be like, it's not a big problem. But yeah, I think that's what I'm mainly looking for, yeah. Mainly vibe, I would say.
Hey guys, so my tip for buying bikes, I've listened to some of the other guys and I follow the same line, so I just wanted to draw out a diagram. So basically, this is the classic triangle for bikes that bike manufacturers recommend. So you have your three options: you're cheap, you're strong, or you're light. And what they say is just pick two. So if you want it strong and light, it's going to be expensive. If you want it strong and cheap, it's going to be really heavy. And then if you want it cheap and light, it's going to be weak. What I would say is don't go for this option, which is basically avoid AliExpress, cheap and light. You want to go cheap and strong, or strong and light, in which case it's either going to be heavy or expensive. And then in that case, I say go heavy. So you want it strong and you want it cheap. Then specifically for what we're looking at with more retro bikes or retro mods or just fixing up an old banger, you have your cheap, you have your goal, and then you have quality. So basically does it fit right? Is it the right size? Do you want a gravel bike or do you want a road bike? Do you want small wheels? Do you want big wheels? And then are you looking for a brand like a Specialized stump jumper or something? So if you want that, so your goal, and you want it cheap, you're going to have to buy a clapped out or worn out one. But if you want your goal and quality, you're going to have to go to a second-hand bike shop. You're going to have to search eBay for exactly what you want, and you're not going to get it cheap. It's going to be the big bucks. If you want it cheap and quality, you're kind of stuck with what you're given. So it's the wrong size. You might get a cheap quality road bike, but not a touring bike. You might get 27.5 or 26er when you wanted the other. And basically, this is where you want to avoid. Now, if you flip your bikes, that's actually the one you want to target, cheap and quality, but yeah, there's not much money in it. You want to go cheap and good, so you're going to get a clapped out bike and then you're going to fix it up. That's my recommendation.
Now, I'm not going to lie, everybody has kind of said everything that I was going to say, so this has essentially been me coming onto the screen and saying, here's a video. I'm not going to say anything during it, and all my friends have said the best things that I could have even imagined. So thank you so much to everybody who actually agreed to do this and sent me a video. I know there's a bunch of people that really wanted to do it and just didn't get time to do it and stuff. I didn't give them a lot of notice. I do want to know if you like this kind of video. I want to do more community based things. I want to go visit more bike shops. I want to go visit manufacturers. I want to go do more things around the community and share more things. And one of the things I feel like I want to do more of is this, and it's like sharing knowledge from the community for you guys. So if you enjoyed this video, do let me know down below. I've got a few ideas to kind of streamline it and to not let them make 4-minute videos instead of like just short snippets, but we'll worry about that later. So if you're into bikes and cycling in general, you've found the right channel for you. We make all sorts of different cycling content, including builds and, like I mentioned, going to see people in the community. The community is definitely the thing we like to do most. And if you don't want to miss out on these videos, the best thing to do is actually subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free and it helps me out a bunch. And if you can't wait until the next video, that one there is a particularly good one.